A blueprint for regulatory changes to the Fisheries Act 2002 and the Agriculture Framework Bill is to be finalized out of a two-day inland fisheries and aquaculture support project validation exercise hosted recently by the Ministry of Agriculture in collaboration with the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO. In delivering the feature remarks of the event, Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa said the updating and modernization of existing legislation governing fisheries in Guyana is an important step in the evolution of the sector, especially with the developments taking place in the inland fisheries and aquaculture sectors here.
Today is a very important day, and I want to make it clear from the inception that the proposals and the work that we will be putting in for the next 2 days will form parts of the work of the AG's office, and also Cabinet already set up a subcommittee to look at various aspect changes to legislation. And what we will be having here for the next 2 days will be proposals to enhance our aquaculture system, to make legislation for aquaculture and inland fisheries. Because when you look at our legislation now, it only caters for marine fishing or marine fisheries. And I think it's very important, because when you look today at our country, we are seeing rapid transformation that is taking place in our agricultural sector. As it expanded, we try to expand it, diversify, and modernize it, and also to make it more resilient and make it more competitive.
The Agriculture Minister told the participants and resource persons that a critical thrust of the government of Guyana is to ensure that Guyana remains food secure, and that this can only be realized through innovative approaches to the development of the local agriculture sector.
We have seen what has happened or what took place over the last 3 years since the pandemic would have started. Many countries around the world, although they are rich, they had large financing, they were unable to procure food for their population because we had a scarcity of food, we had limited production of food, and many countries that would have produced food produce it at a level for only their population to be more food secure rather than to export those. And today, Guyana is making significant strides in increasing aquaculture production through the establishments such as the brackish water shrimp project, and I want to compliment and thank the FAO. They would have already created a document for us to work with it. And we have also started the Vanami prawns project. And I think we are the first country in this part of the hemisphere, especially the Caribbean, to introduce cage culture to our population. And this is significant to enhance not only the income of rural populations, but at the same time to take us to food security. We have seen this sector, the inland fishery sector and the aquaculture sector, it employ about roughly thousands of people that depend solely on it economically. But there are thousands of other persons who would have depended on it for food security. And that is why we as a government, we have found it important for us to develop this sector.
According to Minister Mustafa, the time has come for Guyana to establish legislative framework for the safeguarding of gains being made in the inland fisheries and aquaculture sector.
And as I said, due to external threats such as climate change and the ever-increasing demand for wild capture inland fisheries, legislative frameworks where none exist must develop. And in Guyana here, we are looking to create a comprehensive food legislation. And you will see other legislation being updated. Recently, we have had the entire Fisheries Act being updated. we have already submitted, because you know our country was blacklisted from exporting catfish to the United States in 2019, I believe. And we are working very assiduously to reverse that ban with the U.S. administration. I'm very optimistic that we will have that, we can have that done shortly. So this 2 days of activity here this morning that you have started will be very, very important to provide critical feedbacks on the Inland Fisheries Amendment for the Fishery Act 2002, for which you have been invited to, and secondly, to the Aquaculture Bill. Both pieces of legislation are geared towards creating a robust and comprehensive legal framework for its sustainable development. These draft documents are a result of previous stakeholders' engagement, which covers regions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9, with technical assistance from the FAO and then Sustainable Wildlife Management Project. While inland fisheries, when compared to marine fisheries, form a minority in its contribution to the economy, its regulation is critical to prevent overfishing and illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing, protected species such as arapaima, sport fishes, and I can name a number of other species, and food fish as the main source of protein intake for communities. This will primarily be achieved through a co-management strategy. And it's very important too that the Fisheries Department and the Sustainable Wildlife Management develop a draft national co-management plan and regulation to support community participation through the development co-management committees, co-management areas, and community fisheries ranger. This will be the first co-management plan and regulation developed for the fisheries sector, which will be implemented in the North Tupanuni, Region 9. To cushion the national and global impact of overfishing, while caught fisheries, Guyana's move towards the promotion of aquaculture. Guyana's aquaculture industry development is now a national policy priority and have been described by His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali as a potential economic powerhouse.
Speaking earlier, FAO's Guyana representative Dr. Gillian Smith said the development of inland fisheries is very important to Guyana's development agenda.
Aquaculture, inland fisheries is vital to the ambitious development agenda that Guyana has. So, today, we're taking one part, one component, one aspect of that, and we're looking at that. We have, along with government, been working with fishers. We've been working with inland fisheries communities. I'm sorry, something isn't quite right there. With inland fisheries communities, we've been working with all sorts of stakeholders and partners to ensure that we all work together for the sustainability of these livelihoods, that we all work together to ensure that there is access by small farmers and communities and small fishers and medium-sized fishers as well to the important opportunities that are unfolding in fisheries. Being able to have a good regulatory framework, a set of rules, a set of guidelines, as it were, that all of us are in agreement with and that everyone is working around is vital. It's a very vital part of everything that will include and ensure sustainability. Include and ensure that this is not just for this generation, but the generations that are to come. We are happy to work not just with fishers and with farmers and with inland fisheries and rural communities. We're also very happy to work with the institutions. Many of you here represent the institutions that are going to be working together with the farmers and the fishers that provide the services that they are going to need to ensure that they can build strong livelihoods, to ensure that they have access to trade, to ensure that they have access to the kind of information, the knowledge that is really necessary to make sure that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20, 30 years from now, we have resources that will continue to enrich the communities and continue to enrich Guyana.
In the meantime, Guyana's efforts at growing the aquaculture sector are bearing great rewards, as is evident in the production numbers coming out of the brackish water shrimp industry, as well as the results of the cage culture trials now underway in the Essequibo.